Welcome to another must-watch video in the HLC Chronicles series. This video will be focusing on the importance and the key features and needs under Criterion 5 with the structures and processes, the resources, and the plans we have available and are working under here at Highlands. If you're more of the binge watcher type, you can also find a whole slew of these videos on the NMHU accreditation page for this series. As always, we'll start with the mission and vision statement for Highlands. These two statements drive everything else we do here at Highlands, so having a general sense of the statements is always a good point to start any conversation on what we do and what the HLC expects. As we continue to connect the dots, we see the mission and vision leading to the strategic plan and on and on. Criterion 5 wants to know the hows and whys of how we achieve these dots leading up to the HLC overview. As we are learning, the HLC is reviewing what we should be doing anyway, even if the HLC didn't exist. So having plans is great, and many of us are very good at planning, but the bottom line, as in the financial bottom line, is how do we pay for our plans? I want to travel the world seeing every country, but unless I have the resources to do such an adventure, well, you get the point. At the bottom of the slide, you will see a link for HU Visions 2025 if you want to see our goals through 2025. Here you can see that Criterion 5 covers everything that I've been talking about, but it also talks about the future. You may have enough money in your bank account to cover all expenses for this month, but what about next month and the month after that? Time will march on, and Highlands, like you, will need to look ahead the best you can to anticipate what we need in the future. So let's all make sure and clean that crystal ball occasionally. More specifically under C5, we need to do a deeper dive into our structures and processes in ways that shows us we're using more than just a crystal ball in making decisions. We also need to know where the money is coming from and where the money is going. Highlands is quite dependent on state funds to fund operations, and you can bet the state wants to know how and where we are spending every cent. And we need to be using our funds from the state and student tuition and other revenue sources wisely. Apparently, we do not have a money tree somewhere on campus, so we need to plan. And not only the HLC, but various concerned groups like the regents, the admin, faculty, staff, and students naturally want to see the plans and all the different ideas on where the money might be spent. One concern that each group and the state and HLC have is whether or not we are a going concern. This is a business term meaning we are viable and able to get through today and next week, next year, etc., based on the financial information and the plans presented. They do this by not just looking at the finances, but also a number of factors including personnel, building, equipment, and the expertise of the people overseeing the departments, offices, and the university in general. Some basic questions regarding that expertise is shown here. Monitoring is very important, and it is showing that we are using the money we spend wisely. We all may want a margarita bar on campus, or a free car for each employee, or free computers to each student, but is that realistic in terms of the money we spend? And did that margarita bar actually get approved by the regents anyhow? We may end up giving free computers to all students one day, and that's okay, as long as we've made it a strategic goal, found the monies for it, and had the regents approve it. So while I wouldn't hold my breath for that margarita bar, we do run the university under our own terms, and we can plan and spend as we see fit. We do, however, still need to justify why. So how do we prove that we are ongoing? Well, there are several ways, the first being the CFI, or the Composite Financial Index, that shows the relative financial health of Highlands. The CFI is derived using 4 ratios: our primary reserve ratio, our viability ratio, our return on net assets ratio, and net operating revenue ratio. Of course, if you want more understanding of those ratios, I suggest you study at the excellent School of Business we have here at campus, sister to our other excellent professional education and social work schools we also have here on campus at Highlands. We can also look at our enrollment numbers, since this is the second highest revenue stream, or also look to our fundraising efforts. After that, and some would say before that, we need to know where all of our expenses are and where do we spend the money that we receive. Of course, a big expense here at Highlands, like at most organizations, is personnel. Hiring and retaining qualified personnel is key to a quality organization, so says I, and we need to make sure that we have that core always. Next up is the classrooms in our buildings or online classes we use to teach our students. Buildings deteriorate over time and need constant upkeep. Those are future deferred maintenance expenses and can be easily planned for, but a sudden water leak resulting in a flooded floor may not be. And we do have equipment for all our classrooms, instructors, and offices, and those wear out just like buildings. And have we planned for that? IT is also becoming more and more important. And while we can plan for that type of stuff, when we found out we had an unwanted cyber attack, that is also likely. It happened, and we needed to respond with both time and money we had not planned for, though. So while we may do a lot of planning, we always have unwanted and unexpected expenses. So while it would be good, but is next to impossible, to always hit our budgeted numbers, the HLC and Regents should understand that we can plan as best as we can, but we cannot likely predict the future any more than they do. However, they both expect us to be the experts on getting as close as possible. So analysis after the fact is necessary. Sometimes it's not an unexpected expense, but maybe we find a donor willing to help Highlands. These can be expected or again, unexpected. And finally, what is our cash flow or our projections or our pro forma or our forward model telling us? Again, we have an excellent undergraduate and graduate program in business here at Highlands to help you fully understand those terms as well. So when we are clicking along on all cylinders, we are said to be in alignment. We have set goals under our strategic plan that are measurable, and these key performance indicators, KPIs to you in the know, track those measurables, providing all with feedback on whether or not we are reaching our goals. Sometimes you have to make adjustments if not meeting goals, and the Regents and the HLC would be glad to see those adjustments made if necessary. And again, the margarita bar would be nice, but unless it was a goal, probably not a good idea on how to spend our revenues. So by aligning our strategic goals with our budget, using data from all sources, including finance and OIER, and then properly analyzing and determining if we're on the right track or not, we should be making informed decisions on the best course of actions. And we need to make sure that those people that are making those decisions are accountable for those decisions, because the HLC does not care where the wrong decision was made, but internally, we most certainly do, because the HLC only sees it as the institution is at fault, and that means all of us. So here we are again, connecting the dots. Now that we know and thoroughly understand Criterion 5, which is good because 2 of the 3 items the HLC came back to look at for our focus visit were under C5, we can see that while not associated with our primary purpose of education, students per se, C5 does have a lot to do with how we educate students in support of education. Again, we can plan for what we know about these support services, but did we know in advance about a cyber attack, the pandemic, the major market crashes of 18, 15, 7, and 2000? Not even the experts in the excellent School of Business likely saw those coming. The good thing about all of these, if there is anything good about all of these, is that most not only happen to Highlands, but all over the higher education institution system as well, meaning there's probably some empathy from the HLC peer reviewers when they look at how we quickly pivoted in responding to each, and how they impacted our revenues and increased our expenses. And because of those, as well as being on probation in the mid-20s, which was a self-induced wound, we lost out on opportunities that also had a cost associated with them as well. So the good news and the bad news is, and which one do you want first? Well, the bad news is that planning and budgeting is hard work, but necessary. Only when you're 18 years old can you pack your car or get on the bus to head to Nashville or Hollywood to live the dream without a true plan in at least your head, because you can always come home, right? Well, when you reach a more mature stage or start operating without a safety net, you better have a plan, and a plan B, and a plan C, because we all know that what happens at that point is that stuff happens. And what is more important, to get a margarita bar or a high magnification microscope for geology, both costing $43,642, I checked. And of course, with our current mission, vision, and strategic plan, the microscope barely went out. The HLC will like that, but choosing between department, office, and other costs is never quite that clear-cut under our goals. So the good news is we already do this planning and budgeting. And is it perfect? No. But we should be able to show the HLC that we did the best we could in making those determinations when we do our jobs like we're supposed to do anyway. We, the HLC liaisons, admin, and really all of us should understand the importance and work even harder on C5 than we already are to ensure compliance across the board for this visit. And so there you have C5. Hopefully you now understand that while it is not forefront with our goal of educating students, the support side of the house and the corresponding HLC focus on our past issues in this area need an increased sense of scrutiny from all of us to check all of the boxes. Hopefully I've encouraged you to get involved in this campus and center-wide HLC initiative if you're not already, but really the best help you can give is simply to do your job for whatever you have already planned for. And here is the information that you can contact the people here at HLC at Highlands for HLC purposes or accreditation. As always, thank you for watching the video.